Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. Today is Tuesday. So my buddy Sean just popped in, and we've got some truth and a little way back to throw in the future and share with you guys. The Durham report has landed, and the bombs are going off right and left, and we're gonna bounce into some of the history here at the Litecoin Lisa show and tell you what's going on. So we'll be right back right after this. Give us a like, share the video. Be right back with my buddy Sean. How's it going?
Hey,
did you shave? Oh my
God! I was gonna shave.
I know.
The dog really scared me and didn't help that much, but
wow. How did she respond to you?
Didn't help that much.
Didn't help.
But it's it's getting a little better. She's like she'll eat with me in the room.
She's kind of been forced to be around you now that the boys aren't around.
It's very sad. I could show you it. She's created a fort with water bottles, like the giant 5-gallon ones, and then your shotgun sitting in a box, and then she has like a little at the end of the boy's couch at the wall. She has like this little section, so Willow's too big to jump through everything.
Yeah.
So she just like hangs out there all day. She'll come out when I put her out, and she'll come out to eat, and then she runs back. She just goes and jumps back in there. And then Willow is so because she's not around her all day. So whenever she comes out, she like freaks out, and she wants to bite her head, and she's like spastic.
Yeah.
You know, and then she's like too rough.
She's a puppy. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like literally like goes. So then she gets scared and runs back and jumps in her little corner again.
Oh,
I'm gonna take her to like out on a leash where she's just me and her. So then she's really forced to like spend some time with me.
Be with you, yeah. That'll be nice. That'll be good. Yeah, some good bonding time.
How's your week going?
Oh, I'm just on cloud 9. I mean, it's pretty good stuff. The truth's coming out. This is, we're having our Truth Tuesday. I tagged Amy Fulmer in this video because we did this video over a year ago.
Yeah.
Talking about special powers of special counsel. I went and did research because I'm like, okay, so how does it play out? Why aren't we hearing from Durham? And so I went and found like the legal documents of how it plays out and what happens. And I was replaying this and posting it all over last night. And so if you go to, I'm going to play just a little clip of it. I kind of fast forwarded to kind of how it has to play out. If you start at like 32 minutes, let's see. Well, I think that leads us to this next thing that we've had pulled up in the news. Not only is Linwood, which we touched on this, Linwood calling for Trump to have, I'm sorry, I just totally blanked. What's it called? The militia. Military law. Martial law. Thank you.
Martial law.
But there's also this news about General McInerney. If you guys have not been listening, there's several interviews that McInerney has done where he's talking about what's going on behind the scenes. It's really interesting. And he is, this morning, this is what we woke up to, is retired 3-star General McInerney calls for President Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, suspend habeas corpus, declare martial law, and initiate mass arrests under military authority. And so part of like the DOJ making a comment, which I have that slide too, saying that that they don't see any voter fraud. So the DOJ had assigned Durham before the election to continue the special, what is it called? Special. Oh, I just got to find it now. Sorry, guys, I'm taking in so much.
Yeah, special election. Was that the special election?
Special counsel, the powers of the special counsel. So he appointed Durham as special counsel. I read through this general powers of special counsel, and in it talks about that if they're to find other things or other points, he can talk to the DOJ about continuing the investigation in other areas if that will help them complete their investigation. So this could be being investigated through Durham right now. And what it also says is that none of this is to be disclosed until the investigation is finalized. And then there's a whole method of how they disclose it, and it has to be disclosed to Congress.
Right.
And all that. So if they're still looking at things and they don't want to tip off to Congress yet, then it's not. So I think there's a lot more going on. My point is, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. A lot of people, and even to myself, I was like, is this coup bigger than we thought? When I saw Barr saying that there's no, he hasn't found any criminal things or fraud with the election, but then Jenna Ellis wrote and said, respectfully to Barr, they haven't requested or done any investigation. The DOJ hasn't specifically. That doesn't mean that Durham isn't doing it. And now we know the rest of the story. But this also means, to me, this, the fact that some of it has been released because we know the process. And I read that document about how it's the method of how the information's released. This means Congress knows everything at this point, and that the DOJ was in on it, which now we know. We know the FBI was in on it. We know all of this. So I don't know. I don't know if now, I don't know what the process is at this point, but
I don't think anything's really, it doesn't.
Of course it is.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
I watched Fox, bombshells, blah, blah, blah. And he said, here's what I investigated, massive improprieties. They did this wrong. This is wrong. This is totally inappropriate. They shouldn't have, done this investigation. This was raw intelligence that was never corroborated. They didn't do the blah, blah. And we're not going to do anything about it. That's it. We're not going to do anything about it. Nothing's going to change. Nothing will change.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's calling for the
she's an anomaly
of the.
Her and Gates are a complete anomaly. They're like
of the
human beings in Congress.
Of Christopher Wray.
They're real human beings in Congress with brains. They're like, they don't even at this point. Like, they almost don't count. I love what they do. I love their pit bull style, and they don't give up. And I think they're really important, but nothing happens. I think that's just like the report. It's right in your face. Ever since Biden or Hunter, nothing matters. You can't get any worse than what was there, and nothing happened. So everything's right in front of us. Everything's here in plain sight, and nothing is happening. Nothing will happen unless you're under a certain level. If you're under a certain level, you're going to go to prison. You're going to get arrested. You're going to get killed. But once you're over a certain level, it just doesn't matter. Or if you're part of the right or something like that, maybe something will happen to you. But nothing's going to change. People will say this is terrible. It's just more theater. I mean, there's going to be hearings, and people are going to talk about it, and they're going to call people, and they're going to yell at the FBI, just like they've done for other things. And now but it's just going to drag out longer and longer, until we change the system, which is something that I've been looking at Sunlight, and I think that's a really good
Operation Sunlight.
Really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been kind of looking more in depth into that.
Yeah.
And
that's where you get involved at a local level, and you take action
and build up, and you go from there. Basically, it's like a last ditch effort before you burn it down to rebuild it to just trying to rebuild it from the bottom. Forget the president, forget all. That's it. You got to start down here, and then and rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's trying to rebuild before you burn it down. That's it.
The other, along with that, I ran across this, and this guy was doing like the Great Reset versus the good or the grand plan. I think
he called follow Judge Napolitano. He's a cool guy.
That's who. Yeah, that was a suggestion today. Yeah. You think I should follow him? Okay, I'll follow him. So this guy, I fast forwarded to this guy goes against the Great Reset. He's pretty smart guy. I really like him. Real person. Michael Rechtenwald. I don't know how you say his name, but he gives you an option to basically, and it's an opt-out option, and it's a lot of what like the state of Oklahoma is doing. Get out of the ESG systems, get out of their systems. It's an opt-out thing. But I've got it on like 1.5 or 1.25, so he's talking a little bit fast, but it's too long otherwise. But
listen, hapless in the face of all this. So I have a 9-point plan to stop it.
9-point plan to stop the Great Reset.
And one of the panelists said basically the sort of sentiment that's behind this. I call this the grand refusal. They want to call it the Great Reset.
Yeah.
By the way, everything great that's ever been proposed by these kinds of people, like the Great Leap Forward, the Great Purge, the Great Society, they've always been dismal failures. So it's ironic that they would continue to use terms like great with reference to this project. So there's 9 points that we should there's a 9-point plan, and it's a kind of a sense of principles. The main premise of the 9-point plan is that we need to cut the global puppet strings from ourselves. We cannot control necessarily what these people try to do, but we can cut the strings from our bodies and minds. And that's the premise. So the 9-point plan includes refusing the CBDC because it is the closing of the totalitarian circle. If you have to beg, borrow, and steal and trade and barter and use other currency to avoid the CBDC, do so. Refuse the Internet of Bodies, where they're going to try to install technology on your body and in your body as a way of monitoring your organs and organ systems. Sounds crazy. It's all on the table. Refuse digital identity, which is this is basically a database that will follow you from cradle to grave. Not exactly for all of us, but the idea is a complete record of all of your activities, including vaccination status, probably a political profile, etc. Digital identity is a disaster and must refuse it. Inclusion, they'll sell it under the terms inclusion, but inclusion means totalitarianism. When there's no outside of a system, that's totalitarianism. So that's what they are. And then, of course, we have to practice the free market in all our affairs. And that is to say, we must keep the free market alive. Somebody mentioned remnant, I think it was Alan. I think that may be all we are as a remnant. We may not be able to reverse the global agenda ourselves, but we can remain a remnant that will that will pass on to the future a legacy of individual freedom and the principles of the free market and self-determination. That's the very least we can do. We can do better, but that's the very least we must do. Then, of course, divest from any ESG stocks electronically in their asset managers. Remove money from ESG reporting banks. And that includes, like Bank of America. Brian Moynihan is a major pusher of this ESG stakeholder regime. So check out and see if your bank is actually participating in this, and they probably are. And we need to make a tectonic shift in the other direction, taking our money away from this beast, because it is a monopoly scheme that's meant to crush and destroy large segments of the economy and well-being. And then, legislation. Well, we saw the first attempt at legislation to curb ESG struck down by Biden. So it's very difficult to. I don't put much hope in legislators to do anything, and unfortunately, they're very much infiltrated. But we can still pressure them to divest. For example, we fund the World Economic Forum. The United States funds it. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This has to stop. And I would say, to go further, we should stop funding the UN and the World Health Organization as well. And, encourage them, like these 19 states that signed a letter to Larry Fink saying we're not going along with this, and other states are pulling out, like Florida will not go into ESG indexing for their pensions. We need to put pressure on legislators to get pensions and other funds out of the ESG index market and away from those asset managers. It's so easy to identify who, the marks are all over the beast. And I think we also need to encourage defection from the elite. There are some possible elite defectors. I don't know about the status of Elon Musk. He's an ambiguous figure in my mind, but I like to keep hope alive that he may actually represent some possibility, at least in getting some victories. He does operate this company Neuralink, which is really brain cloud interfacing, effectively. It could be brain cloud interfacing. That means your brain will be on the web. But he's also sort of like-minded about ESG. He called it a scam. And he is also at least nominally in favor of free speech. So we'll see. But in any case, there have to be other elites out there too who must defect from this insanity because it will be a disaster. I go into in the book, the agricultural disaster. It represents the kind of famine it could actually produce, and so on and so forth. So check that out. But all in all, I'm calling these steps part of the grand refusal. And this is my iconic character to represent the grand refusal. Some of you will recognize this figure, Howard Beale, from the movie Network. Although he delivered his message through the television, this newscaster gone rogue encourages viewers to turn off their televisions, to thrust open their windows, and to scream, "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore."
So when we all reach our enough moment, or our "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore," I think it's interesting that this report has come out. So many people are reaching that point. And then I've heard from Bannon, and I know Bannon's coming out with like an event or some kind of report or something for people to take action, but he hasn't announced it yet. And then Glenn Beck is doing a event on Thursday. Like, he's not saying what or how, but he's going to have constitutional attorneys or constitutional educators, I think is what he called them. And then I think he said constitutional law enforcement as well. And on Thursday, he's doing like a special streaming episode with ways you can take action against this tyranny. And so I think that we're all kind of right there at the tipping point, and people are going to be given the tools to do something other than just sit on our hands and feel the way you're feeling, Sean, of the like, nothing's going to happen. It's just more of the same, here we are again.
Yeah. And it's when you say here we are again, like earlier in my life, this would be a place I thought we could never be.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not so it's just the scope of where we are, and then here we are again. It's like, when the towers fell, it's like if that happened every 3 months, that's how it's like, oh, here we are again at this thing that we thought would never happen. And now it's, but I've given up on all, like everything we're talking about, but it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter. I accept it. But I think that rebuilding from the bottom up, I think that sunlight may be the only way to give up on everything. It's not gonna change. It's too broken. It's too messed up. There's too many, the watchers who are supposed to watch the watchers, or the checks and balances are broken. Everything is screwed up. It can't be fixed because everything has been infiltrated. Like I said, the scope of here we are again. A sitting member of Congress had sex with a Chinese spy, and he still has his job. That's crazy. But he's still on the Intelligence Committee.
I know.
That's
That's
not.
completely insane.
So it's like
Yeah.
it can't. Nothing's gonna fix it. It's too broken. It's a facade. It's a you know we're waxing a beautiful sports car with no engine. It's never going to go. It's never going to be useful again the way it's supposed to be useful. I think we need to just rebuild it ourselves. That's it.
Yeah, but it
Whether,
has to be we, the people, doing it. We've got to stop
yeah,
expecting
because we gave it up.
Congress or they.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
we
And
gave up our power because we're lazy. And
yes,
this is what, and they,
and this is what
they
happens
warned
when
us.
you do that.
Everything
Mhm,
our founding fathers warned us about, it comes true.
mhm.
And it's true. We were lazy. We put, we put we wanted other people to do the work, and we didn't want to worry about it. We didn't want to research. We didn't care enough. And here we are. You know, so we have to rebuild it. Whether we have to burn it down to rebuild it, or if we can, do it within the system. And I don't even think it's going to be that. I don't think it'll be that long. If like 4 to 8 years, and that sounds like a long time, but
Yeah, but
I
this
thought
has
it sounded like a
already
long
been.
time.
I
4 to 8 years
yeah,
ago.
look, we're already 2023. I mean,
Yeah,
and halfway through that. So
4 years ago was like 2019.
nothing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, a
It's
blink
not.
of an eye. Yeah.
It's not a big deal. And that's the thing. Life just goes by so fast if
Yeah.
we don't start working. And that's I kind of wanted to talk to you about that. We'll do that on when we go on my channel, but
Yeah. Sure.
um, but yeah,
There's a lot going on. It's pretty exciting.
he talked about Elon, and
Oh,
what do you think about the CEO thing?
I mean, supposedly she's a WEF too. So I'm like,
Not supposedly,
so
she is a Wefer.
it's confirmed,
Oh yeah, she's a hardcore Wefer.
but
Um,
he's supposedly a WEFer too. So like
no,
he's on the
he does,
website, she's on the website. Like, wouldn't you like to be a WEFer too?
but
You know?
it's funny. When you were playing that clip of you and Amy, and now the rest of the story. Just had a nostalgia from Paul Harvey.
Oh.
Have you ever heard that? That like a commentary he did about how to take over the country.
Paul Harvey?
Yeah,
No,
it's haunting. It is haunting. Look it up real
Really?
quick. He he lays out how it would be done, and it's literally he's dead now, but this is like from the 60s or 70s, and he lays out what it would do.
If I Were the Devil by Paul Harvey.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
A Warning to America, If I Were the Devil.
Play that. You can play
Okay,
it
hold
a
on.
little fast, but it's
Hold on.
it is insane. When's it from?
Just Tappan's dead. Oh God, hold on. I don't know. Hold on. I gotta see if I'm even sharing. Am I sharing? Okay.
Yeah, it's from like the 60s, I think, late 60s.
Paul
65.
Harvey,
There we go.
65.
April 3rd,
Okay.
65.
If I were the devil.
Can you guys hear it?
Let me turn up a
Seems
little.
like it's
If I were
kind
the
of
prince
quiet.
of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness.
Oh,
And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population. I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about how it was necessary to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
That was before AIDS was ever a thing.
Yeah, and he's talking so America focused, but this is what's happening worldwide.
Yeah, but it's weird. This was what?
1965, year after Kennedy was killed, right?
So it's like what, 60 years ago almost?
Would that be right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We both go. It's crazy that, but they talk about people hitting rock bottom, and having to hit a society, having to hit rock bottom. And it's hitting rock bottom with, and this is our currency breaking down and the market's breaking down. And, my friend Jill, that's that runs the bank, the local bank, she's, people keep calling it a banking crisis. And she's like, it's not a banking crisis. It's a market crisis. And this is because the dollar is dying. This is a market crisis, and it's worse. It's far worse than anything you saw in 2011 or 2008. And that's what we're seeing. And so, a lot of us know it. And so we're prepared. And this isn't about, getting rich right now. It's about preserving what you have while the dollar crashes and goes away. The old system is dying.
And when it comes to, you say rock bottom, and it doesn't work that way throughout history. Like when it comes to people hit rock bottom and they have a choice. They either, they live or they die. Mm-hmm. And usually they can pick themselves up and they improve themselves. When it comes to empires and nations, it usually doesn't work that way. Rock bottom means it's the end of the nation or the empire.
Right. And a new nation rises.
Yeah, Greece, Rome. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I've said this.
Transfer of power.
I've said this over and over for a long, long time. And nobody really talked about it.
But there will be a transfer of power. Remember that we're DC Inc. right now. We're not We the People US right now.
Yeah.
And I think we will become We the People US. I think the people will say enough and take it back.
But looking at throughout history at empires, I've told you this, we've talked about it, that it always follows this pattern. And it's you can call it whatever you want, but it's a fact, which people don't like you to call it. When it comes to art and and popular culture through those at those times, everything's the same. There's trans, there's gay, there's gender bending, which we started it back in the 90s and 80s. Um, there's steps that just always happen, and it's happening now, and that's usually in the end times of those empires. But those empires, they're all the same. America was and if you read, it's weird to like actually read stuff from like our founding fathers. They use the word experiment because it's our way of living, and our government, which is kind of the norm for Western culture now. Really, well, it was they kind of worked harder to be more like us, and now we've kind of become more like them, and it's like this weird bland amalgamation. But it was an experiment, and paper money, the way we have currency, that was an experiment. And just because there's generations that have lived it, they think it's always been that way. Like most people, I don't even say there's people, most people think there's always been federal income tax. And it's like if you have a great grandfather or a grandmother, they probably lived when there wasn't any income tax.
Right.
I mean, it still could be, but most people think it's just the way it is.
Well, and I think that's going away too. I mean, people are not going to put up with this rules for thee and not for me. And, they're dropping all the investigation into Hunter's tax, after everything that people saw, I mean, and then they're just going to let him get away with that. I mean, that's not going to be okay with the American people. People are not going to keep footing the bill for the Bidens. There's no way.
I look at it like, I don't know if you've been watching what's happening in France, but they're so much more American than we are. And everyone, violence isn't the way. And I watched this old woman, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I fully support him, but I'm 74, so I can't go set trash on fire." And but it's terrible over there, man. I mean, the police are beating the crap out of everybody. It's anarchy. But they say, hey, we peacefully protested for a year or 2 years, nothing changed. We did this, nothing changed. We did that, nothing changed. We did peacefully protest for years, nothing changed. We did like not peaceful, but not crazy, bad, violent protest, nothing changed. They just, hey, what do you want us to do? We're being treated unfairly. This is unjust. This is not how we want our government, to operate. We're supposed to be a democracy.
We're supposed to be a republic.
No, in France, we're supposed to be a democracy.
Oh, in France, okay.
We invented it. It's not working. So
Yeah.
that's so now we're moved to this, but it literally just gets worse and worse. But here it's just violence over like feeling stuff. No one's doing anything over political stuff, except for back in that January day, and that was it was a few hours, and it was literally like the biggest thing ever. We have our own people sitting for vandalism charges in the same place with terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Who it's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for someone to tell them what to do, or for somebody to do somebody else to do something. So
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to do something. You can go to operationsunlight.com and you can learn more about what you can do. And we know that you can opt out with your energy, which we know we store our energy in money. So opt out. That's one thing you can do.
About money, I want to tell you what happened to me this weekend. I had to pay my electric bill, $500. And
is that why your power went out?
no, just I'm pissed because I have a $500 electric bill, and I'm like going for 3 days at a time with no electricity.
Yeah.
3 calendar days, but not 3 full. My kids always get mad when I say that. I'm like, you ever do the dishes for 3 days? I'm like, they're like, no, it's been a day. It's like, no, because it was like 11 o'clock at night on this day, and that whole day, and now it's 12:03 in the morning, so that's 3 days. So, but still, it's always through the night, and I got, I sleep with the mask, so I can't sleep.
Yeah.
I can't go to sleep. I mean, I tried, and I mean, I could die, but I was very tired.
Right, you're
But
suffocating.
still,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Maybe for like 30 minutes, and I wake up. It'd been so long since I tried to sleep without the mask. I just can't do it. And the damn thing always goes off right before I go to bed, and I'm like, ah. So, but anyway, this is the story. This is the interesting thing, and this is something that you're talking about. We need to use these other systems, and we should talk about this on World Blockchain Roundtable. So, I needed to pay this big bill, and I'm like really broke. Money's like super, super tight. So I go through like on some exchanges and scraping together all my change, and I'm sending it all to like one exchange so I can put it all to what I do is I put it usually in Bitcoin, send it over to Cash App, sell the Bitcoin for put it on my Cash App and then send it to my bank. Or I could pay for it, with my Cash App debit card. But here's the thing. I have like $200. I've got to send that Bitcoin over to, or let's say it's USDT. I got to usually send that to an exchange. Say send it to KuCoin fee. And then I sell it USDT for Bitcoin, small fee. Trading fees aren't that big a deal, but we'll say fee. Then I got to send the Bitcoin from the exchange to my Cash App. Then I got to sell it. That is a fee. They do hit you pretty hard there. And then I send it to my bank, which is like 1%. It's not that big a deal. But those are like nickel and dimes you. Now, on Sunday is when I had to pay the bill by Monday. So I'm doing this on Sunday night. And I send everything over to KuCoin. And the fees were ridiculous. I mean, it was like $15 in ETH to send $150 in USDT. That's super high. Mm-hmm. And then so I get it all together, and I'm to send the money, the Bitcoin from KuCoin was going to cost me like $40 or $37.
Oh, your light just went out.
My what?
Your light just went out.
You can see me?
I can see you. Yeah.
My monitors are black.
And I can hear you and I can see you, but
my monitors are black.
Light on you.
My monitors, I can't see myself.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, that was weird.
Oh, there. Now, yeah, I can see you now. Or I can see light on you now.
What the heck just happened? Okay. So anyway, but I can only send Bitcoin. I can't send anything else to it. So I thought, oh, crypto.com. I'll send it to my crypto.com. I'll use a different crypto, and then I'll save that money, and I'll just pay the electric bill with my crypto.com card. So I go to Ethereum, and Ethereum's still like $27. So I was going to try and send it USDT with Tron or USDT Binance. They're not doing Binance, and Crypto.com doesn't accept Tron USDT. So I'm like really frustrated because I have to pay this bill. And then I'm like, okay, what about it was like XRP. I looked at everything. Everything is like $20 to send the money. And I was like, I could send Litecoin. Every crypto, every big one, cost a lot of money. It was 1 penny for me to send that Litecoin. 1 penny.
All right.
Everything else was not a viable option for me to use to
I
pay
love it.
my bill. It was ridiculous. And even if it was $5, I'd happily spend $5 versus $40,
Right.
$37. But it was a penny. And I
That's
didn't
the
even have
juice.
to exchange
Yeah.
it because Litecoin's so commonly used. I can
Yeah,
put
there's liquidity.
I can put Litecoin. Like you can only load your card at crypto.com with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. Like certain like you can't do it with USDT. You can't do it. With their own token. That's another thing. I thought, from KuCoin, I'll buy a bunch of Crow and I'll send the Crow, so it'll be like it's their token. No, it's a ERC20, so it was still like 20 some bucks. So
Because it's a Ethereum. Then you're using Ethereum network.
yeah. But Litecoin was 1 penny to send it and actually use it.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's jump over to your channel and talk about what were you wanting to talk about? I can't remember. You had some. I was kind of excited about.
Yeah, I was talking about
had a good Operation Sunlight, and there was something else. Another story. Anyway, we'll
All
talk
right.
about
Well,
it over
hit the
there.
like button.
Yeah.
See you over on my channel.
We'll see you guys over there. Thanks. Oh.